Okay, students. Good morning, everyone. Today's topic is emotional intelligence in workplace. So today's presentation is divided into two parts. First of all, we'll deal with EQ, which is emotional intelligence, and then in the second part, we'll deal with negotiations. And these are part of module number 4. So let's get started. So here we'll be talking about emotional intelligence in the context of the workplace, because in organization behavior, we look at every concept and everything in the context of a workplace environment. So here we will be talking about emotional intelligence in the workplace. So both IQ and EQ are required to be successful in your career. So as we know that a person needs to do well in his career, and for that he or she needs to have a good level of IQ, which is intelligence quotient. Now this is the parameter which has been traditionally used, that the more intelligent the person is, the better are the chances that he or she will do well in his or her career. So nowadays, especially in the post-COVID scenario, EQ has come up as equally important, and the HRs are having a look at person's EQ before hiring an employee to the organization. So now, as far as the individual is concerned, both IQ and EQ are important, and IQ is basically connected with the head, the intelligence, and EQ is connected with heart. So we'll be understanding what these two terms are. So what is emotional intelligence then? So EQ, when we talk about emotional quotient, it is related to emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to understand your emotions and the emotions of others. So every human being feels a gamut or entire range of emotions about situations, about people, and EQ relates to these emotions. So when we say that a person is high on emotional intelligence or EQ, it means that he or she has the ability to understand his uh, uh, or her emotions as well as the emotions of other people that he or she interacts with. So emotional intelligence is the balance between the rational and emotional brain. So emotional intelligence tends to strike a balance between the rationality is based on your analysis of things objectively, whereas your emotional part is more objective, is more subjective in nature and less objective. So when we say that if you do everything very rationally, then more or less you are kind of behaving like a machine. तो आप एक machine की तरह behave करते हो. तो अगर सारी situations में अगर आप एक machine की तरह और बहुत ही analytical and objectively behave करते हो, तो वो human touch जो रहता है वो miss out हो जाता है. So emotional intelligence actually tries to bring out that human touch, and it strikes a balance between a rational and emotional brain. So being emotional means you are thinking by your heart, and being rational means you're thinking by your brain. So when we talk about being high on emotional intelligence, it means that you are somewhere in between your rationality and your emotions. So this is what is meant by the emotional intelligence. Now we all have emotions. I've already told you. So we all have emotional reactions towards things and individuals, situations and stuff. So what are these emotions like? ये emotions क्या होते हैं? Emotions आपकी भावनात्मक feelings होती हैं, which can be described as being happy, sad, angry, or scared, or frustrated, or ashamed, or being proud, joy, surprise, trust, distrust, disgust. So all these are emotions. ये flurry of emotions होते हैं that a person feels, right? So ये diagram में दिखाया गया है कि aggressiveness, optimism, love, submission, awe, then remorse. Remorse means कि किसी चीज के बारे में guilty conscious होना, then boredom, then anger, rage. तो ये देखो ये पूरा एक series of emotions है, पूरा spectrum है. जैसे कि somebody is annoyed, then somebody has anger. Rage is the extreme form. Then you have apprehension, then you fear and terror. तो apprehension मतलब कि थोड़ा सा किससे डर, और fear मतलब कि पूरा डर. And then terror is कि when you are terrorized to a very great extent, that is you are fearful to a very great extent. तो उसी तरह serenity मतलब calmness. Then you have joy, and ecstasy means a very high degree of joy. Yeah, likewise you have interest, यानी किसी चीज में इंटरेस्ट होना, फिर एंटिसिपेशन होना या विजिलेंस होना. तो ऐसे पूरे entire gamut of emotions a person possesses, and these emotions come out or you experience them in certain situations. So when you are angry, you have it starts with irritation and then goes up to rage. When you are so angry that you are shivering, you are bursting with emotions, you are taking out on somebody. तो ये पूरे emotions होते हैं. तो ये physical symptoms कभी-कभी दिखते हैं. When you are angry, your face becomes red and you're shaking, you're shivering, and you're taking out, you're shouting. All these emotions are felt by individuals physically, and they are seen in a person's facial expressions, eyes, and the way, and his body language. Going on to the next slide. So how important is EQ? EQ is actually responsible for 58% of your job performance. So people who are high on EQ, so they are actually known to do well. And there was a study conducted in which it was found that 90% of the top performers in an organization who earned more than $29,000 were high on EQ. So when you earn $29,000 a year, that's a lot of money, right? So people who were earning $29,000 and more were found to be very high on EQ, that is emotional quotient. So that was a study that was conducted, and these were the findings. Now, people are a mix. People, their personality is a mix of IQ and EQ. So when we talk about a person's personality, which is actually gauged during the time of group discussions and interviews, so as to find out whether the person is a best fit for the given job profile. So the personality actually comprises of IQ, that is intelligent quotient, that is our ability to learn and how intelligent we are, how good we are as a person, as an intelligent human being, and the emotional quotient, what place does emotions have in our personality. Personality types can be extroversion or introversion, as we have seen in our previous modules, which dealt with personality. So a person can be extrovert, who is sociable, who likes to mix with people, and a personality of a person can also be introvert. So a person who is drawn inwards is an introvert person. The personality can be seen in terms of dominance. A person can have a dominant personality. He can be aggressive or influential, and there can be a steadiness in a personal personality, and then there can be fluency. And conscientiousness means a person is very particular about minute details, the minutiae as we call them. So personality जो होती है, it is a mix of intelligent quotient as well as our emotions. अब इसका मिक्सचर करके ही एक व्यक्ति की पर्सनालिटी बनती है. So emotional intelligence is an essential part of the whole person. तो अगर हम एक किसी की पर्सनालिटी देखी जाए, उसमें IQ का भी एलिमेंट होता है और EQ का भी. Now 5 essential competencies, यानी कि skills. First is self-awareness. person should be aware about himself. कि सबसे पहले एक व्यक्ति को, जिसके हमने जोहारी विंडो में देखा था, कि a person should be very much aware about himself. तो जोहारी विंडो में हमने देखा कि there are 4 quadrants, and the first one is open quadrant, in which there are things that are known to himself as well as to others. But then there is something called the second quadrant, or the blind spot. In the blind spot, there are things that the person doesn't know about his own personality. So the ultimate aim or objective is that a person will increase his open area horizontally and will go into the second quadrant, which is the blind spot, in which he tries to take the neutral or the very unbiased feedback from the group members. And the aim here is to improve himself by the basis of this feedback that he receives from the group members, which happens to be authentic. If that is authentic, then the person will take this feedback and improve himself. So this is all part of self-awareness. How much aware a person is about himself. And then when the person is aware about himself, then it will lead to self-regulation in relation to ourselves. That a person knows his positives and negatives. He has done his SWOT, and he knows what triggers him and what doesn't. And with the knowledge of himself, he goes on to regulate his behavior. There is self-motivation, that is resilience, adaptability, and that is shown in his attitude. And he takes initiatives or the drives or the passions that a person has. And then there is a feeling of empathy. Now there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is कि जब आपने किसी को किसी दुख भरी सिचुएशन में देखा तो आपने एक सांत्वना दे दी कि हाँ आपके साथ बहुत बुरा हुआ and I'm very sorry for you. But when you talk about empathy, you actually put yourself in the person's shoes and you experience the pain that a person is going through. So empathy is one step ahead of sympathy. Here you are in a position to relate to the feelings of others. Right? So when you relate and experience the pains of others, then you are actually being empathetic. So for example, you might be living in a hostel where the food is not good. So when you complain that to other people, then they will just sympathize and say, oh, I'm very sorry to hear that you're not getting good food in your hostel. But when you talk about those things with your parents and especially your mother, then she will say, okay, oh, it's very bad. I mean, she will actually go on to feel your pain, that you are not taking enough nutrition, you're not taking the full diet because the food is lousy, which is given to you at your hostel. So your mother is actually being empathetic, while other people are just being sympathetic. So that is the difference between being sympathetic and being empathetic. Empathy is when you put yourself in the shoes of other person and experience the pain that the person is going through. So these things actually go on for effective relationship management. So when you are self-aware and you regulate your emotions, when you have empathy towards other people, that is about their miseries and the pain that they're going through, then you develop effective relationships. And this is what is called as effective relationship management. Why is emotional intelligence important? So now the question arises, why is it that nowadays HR is putting more emphasis on EQ and as compared to IQ in the post-COVID era? Why is that? Because it increases team performance. You can't have people who are just joining and leaving at this at the drop of a hat. You want people to stay in your company, in your organization, and work for a long duration of time. And this is exactly what HR looks for. But then that will happen only when the people who are managing them will have high degree of emotional intelligence, right? If people are ruthless in the way that they drive their teams, and if the people are not able to empathize with the team members, then the team performance will decrease because, there is a saying that you take care of the car and the car takes care of you. And the same thing goes with the team also. You take care of the team and the team will take care of you. So if you are taking care of a team, you are being emotionally intelligent and you are sympathizing and empathizing with them, then it will lead to a kind of ownership among the team members, and that will result in higher team performance. And it also increases the leadership ability. The person who is able to relate to other people's feelings and emotions is construed to be a true leader, right? And it improves decision making also. People who take decisions on the basis of empathy or emotional intelligence are known to be highly successful, and it decreases occupational stress. So actually, every day you go to work, there is a problem to be sorted out, and there is these problems actually result in a lot of stress for employees. People will see a lot of stress because of the problems that crop up from time to time at their organization. So when you have a sympathetic person who's driving them, so that will decrease the occupational stress, and the people will be more satisfied in terms of their jobs, and that will reduce staff turnover. Then less and less people will leave, and more people will stay with the organization for a long period of time. So if there is stability in the workforce, ultimately it will result in good team performance. So if people are de-stressed, and there's an environment that actually reduces their occupational job stress, then there will be increased personal well-being, which will be reflected in good team performance, individual performance, and ultimately team performance, and that will lead to overall goal achievement of the organization, and people will be satisfied in their job roles, and that will have an overall positive effect on the organization. So we see how important these emotional intelligence is for an organization. Now, going on to the next slide, the benefits of emotional intelligence at work. Emotionally intelligent people manage stress and conflicts better. So if they're self-aware, they know how to control their emotions, and they exactly know how to control the emotions of others also. So they are able to manage stress and conflicts that arise at a workplace, right? And because of that, ipso facto, because of that reason, they are able to improve relationships with their co-workers. तो उनके जो साथ के लोग हैं जो काम करते हैं उनके साथ उनकी अच्छी बनती है. There is overall cooperation, coordination among workers, among team members, and they are able to deal effectively with not only their supervisors but also their subordinates. So people who are high on emotional quotient, because they have a good knowledge of their emotions and they are self-aware, they know how to control them. So because of that, competency that they have, they are able to do well with their subordinates and also with their supervisors. More productive and efficient. If they're more productive and they effectively and efficiently manage their work priorities, so the result is that they are able to do well. Their performance increases. They become more productive, and they are able to sort out their work priorities in a very lucid manner, and they become very conscientious. And this is all result of having a high emotional intelligence at the workplace. Next is high IQ versus EQ. So, Mr. Spock, if you've seen that Star Trek that used to come, he was very high on IQ. He was a very intelligent person, but he didn't show any emotions. He was more or less like a robot. We don't want robot, in today's time in an organization. We want people who actually empathize with others, because of the concept of an organization being a family has come into being nowadays. So you have done away with the traditional hierarchical structure, and now it's more or less a flat hierarchy which is there in organizations. So there's less room for people who are just taking decisions on the basis of their mind and not using their heart. So this is what is depicted by this picture. So EQ composition. So it is actually personal competence. It is about self-awareness. It starts with self-awareness, as you see in the diagram. कि वो अपनी सेल्फ अवेयरनेस से स्टार्ट होता है कि हम वो अपने बारे में अपने इमोशंस को कितना अच्छा पहचानता है और अल्टीमेटली उनको मैनेज करता है ना. So he knows how to control his emotions. So what is maturity actually? What is wisdom? Maturity or wisdom or experience is when you know what to say and when to say and how to say. So that you'll be able to do when you have full control over your emotions. So if you do not have your a control over your emotions. You'll just be a childlike person. You'll just be a child. Nobody likes a child as a manager, as a leader. So when a person is emotionally intelligent, that means a person is very much aware about his or her emotions, and he also is in a position, he or she is also in a position to control those emotions. And that is exactly is called as self-management. Then there is social competence, in which there is social awareness. Now, this person is also aware about the emotions of other people, and he also knows how to manage them. And he uses his competency of these emotions management about himself and others in relationship management. So that is reflected in the way he manages relationships. And this is one of the core skills that is looked at in managers nowadays by the HR. Okay, how the EQ composition is of a person. So what is self-awareness? First of all, it is about recognizing how you are feeling and why you are feeling that way, right? First of all, you have to recognize your mood swings and the reasons why mood swings happen in you and what triggers them. And because of your mood swings, what is the effect of your mood swings on other people? And you also are aware what starts them, and then you know how to control them also, right? So this is about self-awareness, in which in which you are aware that what are actually the things that trigger certain emotions like anger or irritation in you. And then when you are aware about the triggers and what it lead to, you then try to manage them. Then self-manage. So you first of all are aware, and then you manage yourself. So what is self-management? When you know when to act and when not to act. You learn to control your impulses. Impulses can be that suddenly you burst out in anger over small things, and that is especially not acceptable at a workplace. You need to control your emotions. So that is exactly what is called as self-management. That when you learn to control your impulses, see, when you are a child, then you are highly impulsive. So when you feel hungry, you cry. When you do not get the things that you want, then also you show your rage. But as you grow up, you learn to control these emotions, right? So this is exactly what is called as self-management. You learn to control your impulses. So man, as he or she becomes more and more sociable, it's all about complying with the rules and regulations, and that is specifically applicable in an organizational setup in which you know how to control your impulses, and you know that your emotions should not show up on your face. And that is exactly what is called as self management. आप अपने emotions को control करना सीखते हैं, and you become flexible. You don't be very dogmatic or rigid. आज की डेट में बोलते हैं ना, जब तूफान आता है तो जो पेड़ बड़े हरे होते हैं और जो झुक जाते हैं वो नहीं टूटते. So likewise, you have to be very flexible and adaptive, because there is always change around you, change happening in terms of the organizational setup, change happening around you in terms of people who are new joinees or new bosses who take over. So you have to adapt with them. You have to show your flexibility. How you manage your reactions to other people's situations. So you have to manage the reactions also. People might say certain things might be very, very humiliating in public, but then your emotion, your maturity is that you don't, act on the impulse and give them there itself, and that will be very wrong. So it's all about how to put your immediate needs aside for more important and bigger picture. So maturity is that you don't get swayed by these insults, or some people might trying to trigger off your anger, and you take a long-term view that it might not be good for you in the long term. It will create a negative image, and this is all about self-management. Then we come to social awareness. Now, just as I talked about self-awareness, there's something called social awareness, in which you become aware about the situations, and you learn how to handle them, accurately reading the emotions of others. Also, you become a very good, good at interpreting other people's body language, and by that skill that you develop in yourself, you're able to understand the emotions of the other people, and then you fine tune or synchronize your behavior so as to as per the situation, as per the person, and then listen and observe without coloring the situation, without your own emotions. So when you are able to do that, then you are socially aware, you practice active listening. So there's a difference between listening and hearing. Listening is when you understand the whole message in its entirety. You also get the thing that is being told, and also the thing that is not being told. You learn to read in between the lines, the silent message that the person or his body language is trying to give you, and then you show your empathy. Empathy is that you show your emotional maturity in handling people, in handling situations, and stuff like that. No, then relationship management. So ultimately, it results in relationship management. You channel the awareness of your emotions to create successful social interactions with other people, right? And then you get a real value out of every social interaction, even with people that you don't like. So it's a, in a workplace, you always have people whom you'll not be able to get along well because they come from different background, or maybe they're not agreeing to your point of view. But then this is what cultural diversity is all about in a workplace. So you can't, have your own thing. You can't have your own kind of, your what we call it as alter egos. You can't have people who look like you, who think like you, who talk like you. So you'll have to have a working relationship with everybody, and it will be happening only when you have a very high emotional quotient. That is, you'll be able to manage your relationship very well. You'll be having working relationship with people whom even you don't see eye to eye with. Then you will also learn how to avoid festering problems and explosive conflicts by regularly effectively managing social interactions. So if your small conflicts, if they're not handled well, they flare up into a larger conflict, and they create a very challenging situations. So you will learn, because of your social awareness, how to control them in the initial stage and not let them flare up into bigger issues or challenges. So this, if you do it often, then you'll be able to cultivate teamwork and collaborations among your team members, right? So what historical figures or famous people have displayed? If you look at role models that you have, you will find your role models, all the heroes that we worship, they had a very high, or the leaders. You take political leaders, you take corporate leaders. They have displayed very high EQs, and therefore they have been considered to be very good leaders. So now the question arises that we have understood what EQ is. So can we improve our emotional quotient if we are slightly low on that? So there are certain strategies which we can use to improve our emotional quotient. It starts with self-awareness. So the self-awareness strategy, of course, is first quit judging your feelings as good or bad, and then it's first of all knowing about yourself, and then going on to know the other people. Lean into your discomfort. I mean, you might not be very comfortable, by not letting off your anger and stuff, but then you should train yourself to be discomfortable at certain points, and then you should know who and what pushes you, and you should know what actually triggers off your emotional outbursts, and then you try to manage those, right? Self-management strategies: first of all, take control of self-talk and accept responsibility for actions versus blaming other. So it starts with accepting if things go wrong as per the result of your actions, as per the result of your not being able to control your emotions. तो अगर आपने emotions वगैरह control नहीं कर पाते हैं, तो you have nobody else but yourself to blame, and then sleep on it. Do not act on impulse. Even if अगर क्या होता है कि जैसे in an organization setup, even if you want to complain about somebody, you should not do something in rage. कि अगर आपकी किसी से कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो गई, कहासुनी हो गई, तो इमीडिएटली अपने कंप्यूटर पर बैठ के अपने लिख दी लंबी चौड़ी, और हो सकता है कि कुछ समय के बाद when you will see that email, you will regret it because that was done on the heat of the moment. So it's better to sleep on things, like you take some time off. You see, if you have to take a decision, you can even sleep on it. You can take an informed decision, and you can, if you allow some time gap, then there will be an objective decision that will result from it, and that's what is called by sleeping on it. And suppose there's a situation that triggers off your anger. So the best way to control it is by counting 10. So when you say 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then your emotions are in a way controlled, and then your reaction is not as bad as it would have been, right? And then so these are all self-management strategies, like take control of your self-talk. Don't blame others for your own mistakes. Sleep on it. That is, you can delay the actual decision for some time, so that high emotions are not involved. And then if there's a situation in which your emotions are triggered, then you can use the technique of counting till 10. Then when we come to social awareness strategies, greet people by their name. If you call people by their name, they're very much happy, because then immediately you are kind of relating yourself with them, and that everybody likes to hear his or her name, and that evokes a very positive response in them. Then watch their body language. So you should be a very astute and very conscientious observer of people in terms of their body language. So that will help you to understand what emotions a person is going through, and that will help you to actually give a very good response. And then practice active listening. Just don't hear people. When you're not absorbed in listening to others, it's just hearing. But when you are actively listening, you are understanding, and things will go into your long-term memory. So try to do that, and learn to speak in terms of interest of others versus your interest. So tell people how something is useful for them, and not for you. If you always talk about I, people don't like that. So you talk about them, how situations and actions are useful for them. So in this way, you'll be able to solicit their cooperation. And when you do that, you have the cooperation of the team members, then you will be able to deliver your results very well. Relationship management strategies. Now, there are certain relationship management strategies that you can work out and you can try for improving your team interactions and your personal interaction with people. First is be open and curious. So the more questions you ask about people, the more you reveal about yourself, you'll get evoke positive response. Then avoid giving mixed signals. Always be very clear and be positive. Remember the little things like please, thank you, and I'm sorry. These phrases go a long way to create a very positive image of yourself. You put the feedback. Just as we have seen Johari window, what we have seen is that that blind spot. That blind spot needs to be removed. People see certain negatives in your personality, which you don't. So use their feedback to improve yourself and to improve your self-awareness. And that will lead to good relationship management. Realize that relationships are built on trust. You give respect and you get respect, and you trust other people, they'll trust you. Acknowledge other people's feelings. And if you are doing that, then people will be attracted towards you in terms of your personality and all. Tips for controlling your emotions. There are 6 steps that are suggested for controlling your emotions, part of self-awareness. First, try not to react immediately. Learn to control your emotions and impulses. So take a deep breath and take a walk and find a healthy outlet. So like you can meditate. Meditation actually helps you to control your feelings, your cognitive self. So that will help you. And you can call somebody you trust. Find a healthy outlet in the sense that everybody, if they are pent up, they want to take it out, and the best person can be your well-trusted friend whom you can talk with and let out your emotions. You feel very light once you talk to that person, so that can be a healthy outlet. ऐसा बंदा ढूंढिए जिनसे आप बात कर सकें. See the bigger picture. Always take a helicopter approach. Helicopter approach is that when you see things from a bird's eye view, कि हम चीजों को उनकी संकीर्ण उस पे ना देखें, not in their very narrow silos. We take a bigger picture view, weigh pros and cons of a situation. कि मैं ऐसा करूंगा तो वैसा होगा. So before acting out, weigh the pros and cons, positives and negative. Replace negative thought with your thoughts and quiet your mind. So if you think negative, negative things will result. So you have to take out. For example, if I am entering the interview room and if I think that I'm going to flunk, कि मेरा होगा ही नहीं इसमें, तो वो वैसा ही मेरा बिहेवियर भी होता जाएगा. लेकिन अगर मैं पॉजिटिव सोचता हूँ कि मैं आज मैं इंटरव्यू जा रहा हूँ, तो वो जो बंदा आया है मेरा इंटरव्यू लेने, ही हैज कम हियर टू सिलेक्ट मी. अगर मेरा पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट रहेगा तो चीजें भी मेरे साथ पॉजिटिव होने वाली है, मेरे एक्शन भी पॉजिटिव होंगे. एक्नॉलेज योर इमोशनल ट्रिगर्स, कि आपको अपनी पर्सनैलिटी का SWOT एनालिसिस करना चाहिए, एंड इससे ये होगा कि यू विल बी एबल टू मैनेज योर पर्सनैलिटी. देन योर एटीट्यूड इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट देन IQ. So, actually what is seen during the interviews and what decides a person's acceptability is attitude. Don't stay helpless. You can visit Pittsville, but you can't live there. So, you can be, you can segregate yourself, isolate yourself, but you can't live there all the time. So be passionate, empower yourself, take action and face your fears and keep going and try to go the extra mile. You have to make an effort, to reach out to people. Expect positive result. Always have a positive thought and positive frame of mind that will lead to positive results. Be flexible in your approach. Don't be rigid or dogmatic. Don't complain when things don't go your way, because things often will not go your way. You will be required to be adaptive and adjustable. Explore and find alternatives and opportunities. So, you have to work out on plan B, C, A, B, C, and that will actually help you to be more happy. Then 8 EQ skills that provide dividends in a workplace. First is, if you get very good quality sleep, then you'll be charged up every morning to do your organizational work. Then time management is very important. You have to decide what is high on priority and what is not, and try to address those high priority and try to, so that prioritizing your tasks really is becomes very important part of time management. So time management, about categorizing your work in 4 parts, like urgent and important, urgent but not important, and not urgent and not important, and like that you can categorize your work and then allocate time accordingly. Say no and setting boundaries. Like if you don't have the habit of saying no, then people will take you for a ride and you end up overcommitting yourself, which is not good for you. And then ask for help, and that will not demean you. We have seen a case study in which the manager didn't feel embarrassed about asking his subordinates help when he was not able to do certain things. That actually was able to fill the gaps between the manager and the employees. So asking for help is not wrong. Knowing when to shut up, you should know when to speak, where to speak, and how much to speak. That is very important part of EQ. And taking initiative, take risk, get out of your comfort zone, and stay positive. So these are the 8 skills that pay dividend on a workplace. So that's about emotional intelligence that can also be gauged. There are certain tests you can undertake and find out how to improve your intelligence quotient. Why emotional intelligence is important in the workplace? Because it helps you to handle pressure in a very healthy way. It actually garners the understanding and cooperation with others, and that makes you good listeners, opens you to for feedback, and makes you more empathetic, that you are more concerned about other people's feelings, and sets an example for others to follow. They become a role model, make you more thorough and thoughtful in terms of your decision-making skills. Now we come to the summary, last part. EQ is an essential aspect of personal and professional success. So EQ is very much important for your personal and professional success. And EQ is something that that can be continuously improved throughout our life. So EQ can always be improved, and you can have an action plan for that. Working on EQ will result in a better overall mental and physical health, and EQ will enhance your relationship at home also and at the workplace also. So that is all about EQ that we have covered today. So that's the end of it. Thank you very much. So, but this is not the end of the presentation. And now I would like to take you to the next presentation, which is negotiation strategies. So hold on for a moment. So now we come to the second part, which is negotiation and its strategies. So what is negotiation? Negotiation क्या होता है? जैसे हिंदी में हम बोलते हैं मोल भाव करना, तो उसके लिए क्या स्ट्रेटजीज अपनाई जाती है? तो क्या होता है कि वर्क प्लेस पे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स हो जाते हैं बिटवीन द मैनेजमेंट एंड द एम्प्लॉइज. तो देन वी व्हाट वी नीड टू डू इज कि अगर हर कोई पक्ष जो है वो अपने आप को सही मानता है और अपनी जगह पे खड़ा होता है, वो नहीं चाहता कि वो अपनी जगह से क्लाइम डाउन हो, तो ऐसे में फिर नेगोशिएशंस किए जाते हैं. तो नेगोशिएशंस क्या होते हैं और कौन कौन सी स्ट्रैटेजीज अडॉप्ट की जाती हैं, वो हम इस पीपीटी में देखेंगे. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी कम टू द डिक्शनरी मीनिंग ऑफ नेगोशिएशन. तो नेगोशिएशन इज अ फॉर्मल डिस्कशन बिटवीन पीपल हु आर ट्राइंग टू रीच एन एग्रीमेंट. तो जो वो लोग आपस में किसी समझौते पे आना चाहते हैं, तो आपस में जब मोल भाव करते हैं उसे ही नेगोशिएशन कहते हैं. दे बिगिन another so आपने सुना होगा कि कुछ sentences जैसे कि they have begun India and Pakistan have begun another round of negotiations today. So the DGMO meeting, certain negotiations were discussed during the DGMO meeting. अभी आपने सुना होगा. The rent is a matter of negotiation between the landlord and the tenant. तो असल में रेंट क्या होता है कि नेगोशिएट किया जाता है by the landlord and the tenant, यानी कि जो मकान मालिक और जो रहने वाला होता है, किराएदार, वो दो लोग नेगोशिएट करते हैं रेंट को. रेंट के बारे में वो मोल भाव करते हैं. फिर नेगोशिएट एज अ वर्ब, we try to reach an agreement by formal discussion. So when two people or two parties make a formal discussion and then they try to come to an agreement, it is also called as that they are negotiating. The government will not negotiate with terrorists. तो ये हिंदुस्तानी गवर्नमेंट का और अमेरिकन गवर्नमेंट का रहता है कि they do not negotiate with the terrorists, right? टेररिस्ट क्या करते हैं कि जैसे उनने कुछ बंदी बना लिया लोगों को, है ना, इनोसेंट सिविलियंस को. तो कुछ गवर्नमेंट का ये स्टैंड रहता है कि हम लोग नेगोशिएट नहीं करेंगे, तो अगर नेगोशिएट करते हैं तो फिर वो टेररिस्ट की आदत बन जाती है. वी हैव बीन नेगोशिएटिंग फॉर मोर टू. तो व्हेन यू जॉइन अ कंपनी यू विल काइंड ऑफ नेगोशिएट विद द एचआर फॉर अ बेटर पे पैकेज. So all these sentences we have seen the use of the term negotiation. So now we come to the meaning. Negotiation is a method by which people settle their differences. तो मान लीजिए दो पक्ष हैं, दोनों के अलग अलग स्टैंड पॉइंट्स हैं, दोनों अपनी अपनी बातों पे अड़े हुए हैं. तो वो लोग इस स्टैंड पॉइंट या स्टेलमेट को या इस द्वंद्व को कैसे सुलझाते हैं, वो आपस में बात करके सुलझाते हैं. तो यही जो बात करने का तरीका है उसे कहते हैं, जो मेथड अडॉप्ट किया जाता है उसे कहते हैं नेगोशिएशन. इट इज अ प्रोसेस बाय व्हिच कॉम्प्रोमाइज और एग्रीमेंट इज रीच्ड while avoiding the argument and dispute. तो कोई भी लड़ाई झगड़े को खत्म करने का जरिया होता है नेगोशिएशन. कोई भी आर्गुमेंट हो गया, कोई भी स्टैंड ऑफ हो गया, तो दो पक्षों के बीच में जब भी आर्गुमेंट हो जाता है या स्टैंड ऑफ हो जाता है, तो उसको सॉल्व करने का एकमात्र साधन है नेगोशिएशन. अब नेगोशिएटिंग स्किल्स होती हैं, ये आपको डेवलप करनी पड़ती हैं और हो भी जाती है. तो सबसे पहले इसमें क्या रहता है कि प्रॉब्लम एनालिसिस टू आइडेंटिफाई द इंटरेस्ट एंड गोल्स। तो दो पक्ष जो है उनके पहले इंटरेस्ट और गोल्स क्या है आपको ये आइडेंटिफाई करना पड़ता है। तो नेगोशिएटिंग टीम्स होती है, जो पक्ष होते हैं, राइट। सो प्रिपरेशन बिफोर आफ्टर अ मीटिंग। आप जब नेगोशिएट करने जाते हो तो आपको सबसे पहले आपको मालूम होना चाहिए कि क्या आपके गोल्स हैं और सामने वाले का जो आप नेगोशिएट करने जा रहे हो उनके क्या गोल्स हैं, राइट। थर्ड इज एक्टिव लिस्निंग। जब आप नेगोशिएट करते हो तो ध्यानपूर्वक आपको सुनना पड़ता है कि सामने वाला जो पक्ष है वो क्या बोल रहा है। और जब भी आप नेगोशिएट करते हैं तो आपको अपने इमोशंस पे एक चेक रखना पड़ता है, यानी आपको अपने इमोशंस को कंट्रोल करना पड़ता है। तो आपको अपनी EQ का हाई लेवल शो करना पड़ता है और अपना जो कम्युनिकेशन है वो क्लियर एंड इफेक्टिव इसलिए रखना पड़ता है ताकि आपको कोई मिस इंटरप्रेट ना कर ले, आपके किसी इंटेंशन को गलत ना समझ ले। कोलैबोरेशन एंड टीम वर्क। तो आप जैसे किसी नेगोशिएशन में जाते हैं तो आपका आपस में कोलैबोरेशन टीम वर्क होना चाहिए और आपके अंदर प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग स्किल्स होनी चाहिए। जैसे मान लीजिए आपके सामने कोई प्रस्ताव रखा गया तो कोई दीवार की तरफ आपके सामने आ जाए, आपको उसको सरमाउंट करना आना चाहिए, उसको ओवरकम करना आना चाहिए, राइट। और इट ऑल्सो शोज योर डिसीजन मेकिंग एबिलिटी। तो किसी भी सिचुएशन से बाहर निकल की एबिलिटी आपने शो करती है। एंड मेंटेनिंग गुड रिलेशनशिप। तो नेगोशिएशन में क्या होता है कि अल्टीमेटली मकसद ये रहता है कि दोनों पक्ष जो है उनका रिलेशनशिप जो इस समय बना है नेगोशिएटिंग टेबल पे वो बरकरार रहे। और इसके अंदर फिर जो पक्ष डिसाइड करते हैं वो एथिकली एंड रिलायबली उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना होता है। तो दीज आर ऑल नेगोशिएशन स्किल्स। नेगोशिएशन प्रोसेस क्या होता है? सबसे पहले प्रोसेस प्रिपरेशन होती है। कहीं भी नेगोशिएशन करने जाने से पहले प्रिपरेशन करते हैं, जिस भी मुद्दा है या पक्ष है उसके बारे में पूरी इन्फॉर्मेशन लेते हैं। फिर वहां जाके डिस्कशन होता है दोनों पार्टियों के बीच में। फिर क्लैरिफिकेशन ऑफ गोल्स की, दोनों पक्ष क्या चाहते हैं उसके बारे में क्लैरिटी लेनी पड़ती है। तो हर समय नेगोशिएशन जो है वो विन विन की तरफ आगे बढ़ना चाहिए। मतलब कि दोनों जो पक्ष हैं उन दोनों को ये ट्राई करना चाहिए कि भैया तुम्हारा भी भला हो जाए और हमारा भी भला हो जाए। क्योंकि अगर इसमें एक भी पक्ष अगर ये फील करेगा कि मेरे साथ ज्यादती हो गई या मैं तो कुछ ज्यादा ही दे बैठा, गंवा बैठा, तो फिर वो कभी ना कभी एक फिर से आपको हॉन्ट करेगी चीज। तो बेस्ट नेगोशिएशन वो होती है जिसमें कि दोनों पार्टियां अपने आप को जीता हुआ महसूस करें एंड दे कम टू एन एग्रीमेंट एंड इम्प्लीमेंटेशन। जो भी आपने नेगोशिएट टर्म्स किए हैं उसको फिर उसका प्रॉपरली इम्प्लीमेंटेशन हो। अब स्ट्रैटेजीज क्या है नेगोशिएशन की? नेगोशिएशन करने के तरीके क्या है? फर्स्ट इज विन विन। एक तरीका है विन विन कि दोनों पक्ष विन करते हैं। दूसरा है विन लूज कि एक पक्ष अपने आप को जीता हुआ महसूस करता है, दूसरा अपने आप को हारा हुआ। और तीसरा है कॉम्प्रोमाइज। तो कॉम्प्रोमाइज होता है कि ना तुम्हारी ना हमारी, हम लोग चलो बीच का रास्ता निकाल लेते हैं। और चौथा है लूज लूज कि जब दोनों ही के एक्सपेक्टेशन बहुत हाई है और दोनों को फाइनली जो नेगोशिएट जब उन्होंने किया तो अपने अपने स्टैंड से नीचे आए, तो दोनों का एक लूज लूज काइंड ऑफ नेगोशिएशन सिनेरियो हो जाता है। देयर आर 4 strategies for negotiation. First is win-win, second is win-lose, third is compromise, and fourth is lose-lose. तो विन-विन स्ट्रेटजी में क्या होता है कि विन-विन आउटकम्स occurs when each side of a dispute feels that they have won. तो अभी क्या हो रहा है कि हिंदुस्तान और पाकिस्तान दोनों फील कर रहे हैं जब नेगोशिएशन किया कि दोनों ही जीत गए वॉर में। तो जब ऐसा होता है कि दोनों पक्ष को लगे कि हम लोग जीत गए तो उसे कहते हैं विन-विन स्ट्रेटजी। Since both the sides benefit from such a scenario, any resolution to conflict are likely to be accepted. तो अगर हम ऐसे जो सबसे बेस्ट सिनेरियो ये होता है नेगोशिएशन में कि दोनों पक्षों को लगे कि उनकी जीत हो गई। तो जब दोनों पक्षों को लगता है कि उनकी जीत हो गई तो उनको जो टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन दिए जाते हैं वो बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से इम्प्लीमेंट होते हैं। उनको लगता है कि ये तो हमारी जीत है, चलो हम तो इसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर देते हैं। तो इसे ही कहते हैं विन विन स्ट्रैटेजी। ठीक है। तो विन विन स्ट्रैटेजी क्या होता है कि जब आपको चाहिए वो आपका फुलफिल हो गया, जो आपका मकसद था वो आपका फुलफिल हो गया। तो दोनों पार्टियों का जब ये मकसद जो होता है ऑब्जेक्टिव फुलफिल हो जाता है तो उसे कहते हैं विन विन स्ट्रैटेजी। दूसरी है विन लूज स्ट्रैटेजी। इन दिस एज अ टर्म रेफर्स टू अ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटिव नेगोशिएशन whereby one party gains the other person's loss. तो इसमें क्या होता है विन लूज स्ट्रैटेजी में कि एक पार्टी जो होती है वो अपने आप को जीता महसूस करती है ऑन द कॉस्ट ऑफ द सेकंड पार्टी। तो ये जब होता है तो उसे कहते हैं विन लूज स्ट्रैटेजी। तो अब ये तब होता है कि when both the parties are competing to get the most value out of the negotiation. विन लूज में ये होता है कि जब एक पक्ष जो है वो अपनी बात दूसरे को मनवाने में समर्थ हो जाता है, जो पक्ष विनर, और जो पक्ष दूसरे की बात को मान लेता है उसे कहते हैं लूज, इसलिए इसको कहते हैं विन लूज स्ट्रैटेजी। तीसरी है कॉम्प्रोमाइज। कॉम्प्रोमाइज इज वेरी बेसिक प्रोसेस ऑफ नेगोशिएशन। अब इसमें क्या होता है कि कॉम्प्रोमाइज का मतलब होता है समझौता। कॉम्प्रोमाइज बेसिक नेगोशिएशन प्रोसेस इन विच both parties give up something that they want in order to get something else that they want more. तो अब मान लीजिए दोनों पार्टीज जो थी उनको कुछ अपना पर्सनल उनका ऑब्जेक्टिव था, लेकिन अब वो ऑब्जेक्टिव ही इतना बड़ा था कि किसी भी सूरत में उसको फुलफिल नहीं किया जा सकता। तो ऐसे में अपने अपने स्टैंड से या अपने ऑब्जेक्टिव से दोनों पार्टियों को क्लाइम डाउन करना पड़ता है, और एक कॉम्प्रोमाइज की स्थिति कि चलो वो अपने दोनों को जो चाहिए था वो नहीं मिला, तो वो एक ऐसी चीज के ऊपर समझौता कर लेते हैं ताकि एक जो लार्जर गुड है उसको कर सके। तो जैसे कि अभी हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान का जो युद्ध होने हुआ कुछ दिन चला, तो उसमें जो दोनों ने अपने ऑब्जेक्टिव रखे थे कि इंडिया ने ऑब्जेक्टिव रखा था कि टेररिस्ट शुड बी ब्रॉट टू जस्टिस, और पाकिस्तान ने ये रखा था कि इंडिया को हम लोग ज्यादा नुकसान पहुंचा देंगे। लेकिन अल्टीमेटली जो नेगोशिएशन हुआ वो ये हुआ कि सब लोग अपनी अपनी स्टैंड पे वापस जाएं। तो दोनों का ऑब्जेक्टिव तो फुलफिल नहीं हुआ, लेकिन इन द लार्जर इंटरेस्ट ऑफ पीस एंड स्टेबिलिटी इन द रीजन अ कॉम्प्रोमाइज वाज स्ट्रक बिटवीन द टू, राइट। एंड कॉम्प्रोमाइज मतलब होता है समझौता। जैसे मान लीजिए कि दो पक्ष हैं ए और बी। ए जो है वो किस चीज को बेचना चाहता है, वो 2 लाख रुपए लेना चाहता है, और बी जो है उस चीज के लिए 1,60,000 रुपए देना चाहता है, और अल्टीमेटली जो समझौता होता है वो 1,80,000 रुपये आता है कि चलो ना तुम्हारी ना हमारी, हम बीच का रास्ता निकाल लेते हैं, और जो मामला है वो 1,80,000 रुपये फाइनल हो जाता है। तो उसे कहते हैं कॉम्प्रोमाइज, राइट। उसके बाद जो लास्ट स्ट्रैटेजी वो है लूज लूज स्ट्रैटेजी। This approach brings together the individual or group in a conflict together when each side has to give up a part of. तो हमने जो पिछले एग्जांपल दिया वो एक्चुअली लूज लूज सिचुएशन पे ज्यादा एप्लीकेबल होता है। हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान का जो था कि दोनों ने जो वो भी रखा कि जो मकसद थे फुलफिल हुए कि नहीं। तो इन द लार्जर ग्रुप ऑफ इन द लार्जर इंटरेस्ट ऑफ स्टेबिलिटी एंड पीस, दोनों ने अपना थोड़ा थोड़ा they had made certain discounts. अब पाकिस्तान ने ये डिस्काउंट किया कि दे विल नॉट स्ट्राइक बैक। इंडिया ने डिस्काउंट किया कि चलो इन स्पाइट ऑफ सफरिंग सम setbacks, let's call it a day, let's cease the hostilities, because ultimately it might flare up in certain into a nuclear conflict. तो दोनों को थोड़ा थोड़ा नुकसान हुआ, तो कैन बी कॉल्ड एज एन लूज लूज स्ट्रैटेजी। अब इसमें होता क्या है कि इसमें एक एक्सपीडियंट यानी प्रैक्टिकल सॉल्यूशन निकालते हैं कि जैसे कश्मीर का मुद्दा है, तो इसमें पाकिस्तान को लगता है कि हमारा पूरा कश्मीर पे अधिकार है, और हिंदुस्तान को भी ये लगता है, लेकिन अल्टीमेटली एक लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल आ गई, तो दोनों को पूरा पूरा नहीं मिल पाया। तो एक हिंदुस्तान के हिसाब से 1/3 लूज हो गया, पाकिस्तान के हिसाब से भी कुछ जो उसको चाहिए था वो भी लूज हो गया। तो इट्स अ लूज स्ट्रैटेजी, बट अल्टीमेटली इट्स द मोस्ट एक्सपीडियंट, मोस्ट प्रैक्टिकल सॉल्यूशन टू द गिवन situation. So this is called the fourth or lose strategy. So actually there are 4 strategies of negotiations as we have seen. First one is win-win, second one is win-lose, third one is compromise, and fourth is lose-lose. So in these 4 strategies you can adopt to settle a problem. So effective negotiation is 90% attitude and 10% technique. So बंदे का attitude देखा जाता है, 10% is the technique, how you negotiate terms, and you can negotiate among two parties in an organizational setup, like the management and the employees, and it can be win-win situation for the management employees, or a compromise, or a win-lose, or lose-lose situation. So depending on the situation, you can implement any of these strategies. So that's the end of the session for today, presentation for today. We have seen, first of all, we had started with EQ, how EQ is important than IQ in today's world. And then in the second part, we have looked at the negotiation strategies. So that was all for today. Thanks a lot and all the best.